106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I am your host that will guide you through the evening, Jerry Vasilatos, coming to you from the north side of Chicago, near Rogers Park in Westridge. And joining me tonight, as always on Fridays, is my co-host and friend, Mr. Edward Heller.
Hello, Jerry, and everyone watching at home. Or wherever you're watching.
We had
I don't know if I meant that to sound ominous.
Well, given some of the stories we report every show, sometimes it can be a little ominous. But I'll tell you what was ominous was 10 minutes to showtime, the nerve-wracking experience of my microphone here not working and realizing I just had to do a hard reset in the back. We were kind of freaking out, but luckily, what was it, like a minute, two? I figured out how to troubleshoot it and get it working.
Yeah, because that's how we do things at Chicago Corner, by the seat of our pants. And so to everyone who's just joining us,
you son of a bitch!
Welcome to the party, pal.
Yes. Actually.
Yes.
So how's your week been, Ed?
Oh, it's been crazy. My car is in and out of the shop, and it's driving me nuts because, like, for 3-4 days it'll drive fine, and then that fifth day it doesn't want to go anywhere. It's like I turn the key, it starts, and then it sputters out. And the guys at the repair shop, they're like, every time we start the thing, nothing's happening. So I'm like, dude, I'm not imagining this. This is not in my mind. I'm not bringing it in just to have fun with you guys. But then, they would get something they think is the problem, and then they would fix that problem, and the car would actually drive better than it had been. So we figured, oh, okay, that's fine. Then 3 or 4 days later, the problem comes back.
See, this is crazy because I know you've had this in and out of the shop for almost a month now, I think.
Yeah,
these mechanics came recommended to you. How?
These guys were good. I mean, every repair I've had them do in the past, they've done great things for my car. And honestly, I've had this car probably for 10 years longer than I should have had this car. I mean, it really is on its last legs. But until I finally pull the trigger on a new car, I got to get this one through the winter. But we'll see what happens.
Well, good luck to you, my friend. I know it's frustrating. I had
I know
a few years myself with my Jeep with them telling me the entire underframe was rusted out, and me thinking I had to junk a Jeep that otherwise was in really good shape, engine and everything else. And luckily, I found a place in Indiana that was able to install these what they called safety caps to reinforce the frame without replacing the whole frame, and it's literally run as good as new. So it's just finding, I guess, the right mechanics and support. So
Arturo, I had considered that they might have been messing with me at first, and then I would realize, well, these guys actually seem really legit, and they've never let me down in the past. And it's just been one of those situations where I have a car that they don't know the ins and outs of my particular car, and so it's like they're going around asking every guy in the shop, what do you know about Chryslers? Have you ever seen this happen before? And, you know, it's like one guy is like, oh, he knows electrical stuff. And so he went and fixed a lot of the electrical problems my car had.
Well,
this car is like close to like 22 years old. So I am not shocked at all that it's having issues.
Mine is that old too, Ed. Well, we'll talk after the show. I mean, if you want a referral for another mechanic, I've got it.
Anyway, that has very little to do with what we're talking about today.
Simply asking how your week has been has gone into.
That was my week. My car is driving me through the freaking wall. Is how my week was. But otherwise, it was pretty good.
Car talk with Ed and Jerry. All right. Well, let's dive into the news. This was kind of a slow news week. I thought I was really looking for stuff that had a lot to do with city politics. This is the main thing that popped out, though, to my attention. Yeah. So this is really interesting on a lot of fronts that we're going to go into. But let me first report from Fran Spielman, as she reports at the Chicago Sun-Times. After everyone else has been getting into the race right before the election next week, now Garcia is considering getting into the race. So Fran reports that polling shows him beating Lightfoot in a two-way race. The poll of 616 likely Chicago voters was conducted last week by Public Policy Polling of Raleigh, North Carolina. Half were contacted on landlines, the rest on cell phones via text message. U.S. Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia would easily defeat Mayor Lori Lightfoot in a runoff, and he's the only top challenger who'd win in a head-to-head matchup, according to a new poll bankrolled by Garcia that could make it more than likely he will join the race. Let me get through the article, because we're going to be having fun with this one based on some stuff that we were sharing pre-show as far as insights. It's further encouragement to consider taking the dive into the race if I sense that there is a way forward and that I can win the support of people across Chicagoland. I'm inclined to do so, Garcia said. I'm inclined to do so, Garcia, whose supporters have been circulating his nominating petitions for weeks, told the Sun-Times on Monday. Quote, getting a strong mandate from voters across Chicago would be important. Finding the financial resources to run an effective campaign is another consideration. And of course, I'm working on that, he added. Chicago is facing some very serious challenges that will require that everyone lend a hand and be involved in moving the city forward. On Tuesday, Garcia added further fuel to the fire by forming a new political committee, Friends of Chuy Garcia. Under purpose of the political committee, the statement of organization says, to support the candidacy of Jesus Chuy Garcia for mayor of the city of Chicago. The poll of 616 likely Chicago voters was conducted October 26th to the 27th for Public Policy Polling, a Raleigh, North Carolina firm. Half of those surveyed were questioned on landlines, the rest on cell phones via text message. The margin of error was plus or minus 4 percentage points. Respondents were weighted by racial, ethnic, and gender groups to mirror Chicago's population. The poll was paid for by Garcia's congressional campaign. Let's not forget.
Of course.
He's a congressman right now, serving in other responsibilities, and will be an in-kind contribution to his state central committeeman fund. Pitted against all challengers, Lightfoot has 22% of the vote to Garcia's 14%. After that, businessman Willie Wilson has 12%. Former Chicago Public Schools CEO Paul Vallis has 8%. Alderman Ray Lopez, 7%. Alderman Tom Tooney, 4%. Alderman Sophia King and Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson, both at 3% and 25%, not sure. Johnson declared his candidacy on the second day of polling, possibly affecting his showing. And as I'm scrolling down to get to that image, where is it? There we go. The article further goes on to say, the crowded field makes it virtually impossible for anyone to surpass 50%, which means a runoff, where the head-to-head matchups are even more telling. That's when Garcia pulls away with 43% to Lightfoot's 34% and 23% undecided. Now, let's also keep in mind that this is like with an expectation of what have we had in the past, 30% voter turnout. In other two-way races, Vallis is inside the margin of error, but Lightfoot still wins 39 to 36%, with 25% not sure. Lightfoot leads Wilson 43% to 35% and beats Johnson 41% to 23%. Lightfoot is viewed very or somewhat favorably by only 38% of those surveyed. That means she is 12% underwater and therefore could have a tough time getting to the 50% plus one threshold needed to win in either round. I'm going to pause for a second because I can sense Ed is like got a lot to say that he wants to.
Actually, Jerry, I just need a minute here. Can you hang on for just a second here?
Sure.
Hey, Jerry. Jerry, did you see Ed around here anywhere? I wanted to give him a piece of my mind.
No,
Oh.
he disappeared when you appeared. I didn't realize you would be joining us tonight.
That always happens. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, yeah, I heard you talking about that head-to-head poll with Chewbacca Garcia and Larry Lightfoot. Chewy? Yeah, Chewy. Yeah, I think anybody or any inanimate object could potentially beat Lori Lightfoot in a head-to-head matchup there. I got a list of things that could beat Lori in a head-to-head matchup.
Please share.
Like discarded Halloween Circuits peanuts and candy corn could beat Lori Lightfoot in a head-to-head.
Go on.
A hot dog with ketchup on it. A pothole. Rush hour traffic. Oh, and
I don't know about that.
Jerry.
I don't know if Rush. Let me ask you this: what about
speed that? Might be a toss-up, maybe.
Could traffic cameras beat Lori Lightfoot? I don't think so.
I don't know, but you know what, Jerry? I think I have some visual aids if you'll allow me to share them.
Go right ahead.
Okay. All right. A magazine could beat Lori Lightfoot. A flower pot. A bowl. A pink scarf. A pencil eraser. No, the good kind. And a desk. Wow. A desk could beat Lori Lightfoot in a head-to-head matchup. Let's see if this thing updates. No, it didn't update. Okay, hold on a second. Going to add the other ones. Because, it's Friday. We got to really throw our silly together. Okay, a VHS tape from the 1980s could beat Lori Lightfoot. A flashlight, a painting, beef. Just any kind of beef, Jerry. A remote control could beat Lori Lightfoot. A turquoise, or is this teal, balloon could beat Lori Lightfoot in a head-to-head match.
I'm going to put us on. I'm going to put us on a please stand by and see if I can do a seance to get rid of you and get Ed back to discuss some of the more.
Oh, okay, but I just thought you should know. These head-to-heads, they don't mean a whole lot.
Fair enough. Let's see what Ed thinks. Looks like my magic.
What just happened? What just happened?
Looks like my magic spell worked. Is what I wanted to say. Yeah, you were possessed by the ghost of Pegleg again. We got to get an exorcist.
Well, I hope he at least provided some good content for you, Jerry.
That is.
I mean, because that's very inconvenient for me.
That is a matter of opinion, but we'll let our viewers in the live chat comment.
Yeah, I'm sure they love him.
A week-old clipped toenail could beat Lightfoot. Kathy Powers shares a turd could beat her. Okay, but now in all seriousness, I didn't realize Pegleg was going to show up. Something that strikes me about Garcia's sudden announcement here is this. Stand by. These two look very cozy. And they are both creatures of the democratic neoliberal machine that pretty much rules with an iron fist here in Illinois. So
yeah, and that's a shame because wasn't he one of the 5 that Harold got into city council?
He was.
Chewy was?
He was. He's now serving as a congressman. Okay, so here are some of my thoughts on this. Is that my first thought was perhaps Democratic leadership realizes Lori really has no chance, and they're basically thinking about shuffling Chewy in as a pawn on the chessboard to retain control in Chicago. However, that speculation is kind of derailed by our friend Shane Coughlin coming on a few weeks back, talking about how they were looking at Lori Lightfoot to see if they could run her for governor, so that even if she lost running for governor, depending on where J.B. Pritzker wants to go, then they could transition her into a congressional seat. I look at this, look at how cozy they are. I really wonder, I don't think Chewy is running because he's worried so much about Lightfoot's leadership. I think Chewy is running at the behest of those in Democratic leadership that are trying to figure out what's the best play here, because they're both loyal foot soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
what's the best play to retain control over Chicago and still use one or the other of them valuably in Congress? That's how I basically look at what's happening here with his sudden announcement and all of this polling that's suddenly coming out, given how close they look.
I do have some thoughts about that backdoor strategy session thing that, that the Dems like to do. It's like, so even if they go with the strategy where Lori tries to run for governor or whatever, or to eventually
without an expectation of winning, but just basically get her more attention and build her credibility nationwide. Or
so her being defeated in Chicago isn't necessarily a deal breaker there. So if they're trying to plan a couple steps ahead, and since I think Chewy actually came pretty close to beating Rahm when he challenged him, he wasn't that far behind.
He did.
So that. So basically they're saying, well, Chewy could be a shoe-in here because he no longer is running against Rahm. He's running against a really bad copy of Rahm.
Well, keep in mind, too, he and Rahm were not friendly with each other. I get a sense that there's a better working relationship here.
And this is definitely going to mess with all the other candidates that are trying to win, because what's going to happen is, and I hate to even use this, but it really is what happens in Chicago because we don't have ranked choice voting. Is that he's pretty much going to steal votes from all the other candidates that are running to unseat Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, running as a spoiler. He's basically sniping at other candidates. What this is going to be doing is going to be like sniping at other candidates, because as I broke down all those percentages as reported by Fran Spielman, you can basically see it's a math and odds game. It's not about who's really right for the job or who is actually going to represent what the voters need. For him to come in this late is clearly they see that the race is getting crowded.
And it feels like sabotage.
That's exactly what I think it might be going on here, which is sad because...
Or sabotage.
I say sabotage. That's true. It is. It could be. As I revert into my William Shatner voice, it could be a bad case of sabotage. However,
one of these nights we'll have to get Kit and Kira on. All 4 of us do our William Shatner impressions.
I might say, my friend Mr. Ed, that
let's get Laney in on that too.
I am very
sorry, Mr. Washington.
Yes, this is Mayor Washington here, and when I speak, you must be silent. I am very, very disappointed at the prospect of my protege, Mr. Jesus Chuy Garcia, deciding to enter into this race as a spoiler, which would derail a legitimate candidate from actually helping the citizens of the city of Chicago. That's all I've got. So
better at that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I like Harold. He was a cool guy, and he inspires me to try to represent him properly. Unlike this hag here, who's busy filing her nails while the city burns.
Yeah.
So let me continue with the article, though, because there were some other details in there before I know you wanted to share some of your thoughts. trying to catch up with where I was before I came out of the article. Okay. Of those surveyed, 56% have a very or somewhat unfavorable view of Lightfoot's performance as mayor. In Northside wards, key to her 2019 victory, only 9% have a very favorable view. Her strongest very favorable number is 31% in Southside wards. In other areas of the city, that very favorable view is held by 3% of voters in far northwest side wards, 5% on the southwest side, 17% on the northwest side, and 19% on the west side. It's all a numbers game. Johnson just got a $1 million contribution from the American Federation of Teachers on top of an earlier $125,000 donation from the group's Illinois affiliate. He's already been endorsed by United Working Families, his brethren at the Chicago Teachers Union, and by independent political groups affiliated with both groups in 4 Northwest Side wards, the 30th, 33rd, 35th, and 39th. Garcia had asked the United Working Families Party Committee to defer its mayoral endorsement, but the group refused because Garcia was unwilling to give them a timeline for his decision. So that he was unable to give them a decision early, and this is all about when he wants to do it. Again, I look at the two peas in a pot.
It's like, it's annoying because we know that Chewy's not always been like this.
Yeah,
and it's just frustrating because now he's just another tool of the machine.
That's the problem. They go in with good intentions, and then they get corrupted, or they get co-opted, or I don't know. I've never disliked Chuy Garcia until what I'm seeing here now. And given that he's been a Democratic congressman for so long, I have no doubt that the party is changing him. He's not changing the party as I think he wanted to. I think the party, as it's become a neoliberal cabal, is changing him. In 2015, Garcia's charismatic and energetic campaign forced then Mayor Rahm Emanuel into Chicago's first mayoral runoff. Emanuel survived with 56% of the vote, outspending Garcia nearly 4-1. You see, that's the other thing, too. Rahm had a lot of money. Lightfoot's got a lot of money. I don't know that Chuy's going to have the money to run the ads like Emanuel did, or as we expect Lightfoot's going to do with the war chest that she's already amassed.
Well, Chuy can get DC money if he wants it, though.
Yeah, but if DC is behind Lightfoot, and this is really just a matter of like breaking up and sniping at the other candidates, I don't know. That's
hard. Well, I guess it's hard to say, whether they're gonna hedge their bets and put money into both races. But that I wouldn't put it past him to do that.
Well, he addressed this on Monday. Garcia was asked if he would enter the race without his most formidable supporters in the progressive movement, and how he'll raise the millions he'll need without the biggest benefactors at Chicago Teachers Union and SEIU. Quote, This is a big city and there are small donors across the city. That's not going to matter. He's not going to raise what he needs with small donors. There are small businesses and big businesses. Yeah, a lot of big businesses are going to want to get their claws on him. There's a robust civic sector that could also be generous. And of course, there's still other potential labor potential to be sought, the congressman said. But he added quickly, I've been in this electoral arena for 40 years. I've learned to be patient and respectful of everyone, especially my allies. Garcia promised to decide after the November 8th midterm elections and was clear he would run only if Democrats lose control of the U.S. House. Well, why has it got to be only? Oh, I get
because he will lose the House.
Okay. Well, wait.
They're going to lose the House.
Okay. He only if Democrats. So he's basically, if Democrats lose the House, he's going to give up the fight there to come rule Chicago, is how I read that.
He's jumping ship before it sinks.
Right. And what does that say about his integrity? Not a lot.
I don't know anymore. I'm so frustrated with all those jerks.
He says, I won't do anything to jeopardize our majority if we're able to keep it, and I hope we do. So,
you won't.
Okay, but if you lose the majority, then you're going to basically bail on the work that you've been. What's the point? I can say this about Johnson too. He's only served one term, where he is right now, but he's jumping out to run for mayor himself.
In my perspective, it would be more important for him to stay in Congress if he's going to lose the majority, because he should be fighting for us.
Right.
as much as he can.
Agreed.
And not bailing on us when his party's no longer in power.
Because that's what it's all about. It's all about them serving themselves. Jack G in the chat, Chewy would beat Lori money or not. Lori has no political base. Here's the problem with that, Jack. I wish you were right. I mean, I you know, as much as I'm disparaging Chewy here and his motives, I would anything is better than Lori Lightfoot, right? Okay, but when you have millions of dollars to spend on media and commercials and television, and you have only 30% and maybe even less of all the registered voters in Chicago coming out to vote, this is where that money makes a big difference, because when you're constantly seeing commercials for a candidate, this is how Rahm won last time. He was a piece of shit, but he outspent everybody in his commercials, and that visibility everywhere is what got people to just throw in the towel and either think, I'm not going to go vote because he's going to win, or for our less competent voters to think, well, that's the guy I got to vote for. I'm seeing him everywhere, because they're not paying attention to the issues. I hope you're right, Jack G. Sadly, I fear you're not. Sadly, I fear that money is always going to be the big factor in a Chicago mayoral race. Yeah, Kathy shares his heart isn't into it. Well, then why run? I mean, I don't know if you mean
retire then.
Yeah.
Look, if you're not into running for office anymore, you want to bail on the thing you ran for, you know, you got your millions of dollars, retire.
Okay,
let someone new in there with some fire in their belly get in there and actually do something for us.
Jack makes a good point that Lori did not have the most money last time either. Yeah, Preckwinkle did, but Preckwinkle pretty much shot herself in the dick. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm assuming, since Lori has one too, with the sugar tax. No, yeah. The sugar tax was Preckwinkle's Snowstorm Blandick miscalculation. Remember when Blandick couldn't do snow removal and Jane Byrne swept in on that? Everybody took advantage of.
I don't remember it, but I do remember that winter. Yeah.
Well, Jane Byrne won her election against Blandick, all based on
the story.
Okay, so
yeah. You don't plow the streets so people can get where they need to go. You're not going to be mayor for much longer.
Similarly, Preckwinkle's Achilles heel was deciding that she was going to run on this sugar tax because she was worried about everybody's health. And it was an absolute fiasco that every other candidate took advantage of, despite the fact Preckwinkle had a lot of money for her ad buys.
It's complete. It's super in the bubble thinking there. Thinking, oh, well, I got to tell everybody else how they should spend their money on stuff. Especially, I should make everybody be healthy and force them to pay extra money if they want to be unhealthy. That's all that is just that. What's the word? It's a tax on the working class and the poor, because rich people, they don't care if it costs a few cents more when they're buying all the things that they want to have. So when people get off of work, some of them working 2 or 3 jobs, they got to spend extra money for soda, or those alcohol taxes are a little ridiculous too, but I guess I get those to a point.
Well, ultimately,
the city is tax crazy. Yes. Amusement tax. They want a piece of everything.
And ultimately, that's what sunk Preckwinkle as far as ad buys, the fact that she had more money than Lightfoot. So to Gene's question, does Chicago still have a political machine like it did in the early 1900s? Yeah, it's called the Democratic National Committee, or what's the ruling party for the Democrat? The DNC is Democratic National Committee.
Yeah.
Oversees the elections. But the Democratic Party here in Illinois, they're the political machine.
Yeah, but they're basically all one and the same. They all work together. Chicago obviously has its own hemisphere of influence. But yeah, and we had talked about how Harold Washington tried to dismantle that, and actually he had a little bit of success before he died, and then it all went right back to the machine. And I think actually that movie's still playing in a handful of theaters. I know the New City 14 in Chicago is showing it this weekend. Punch 9 for Harold. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. And I think they're working on getting it streaming in a few platforms. So we'll have to look forward to that. I'll let you guys know when we get that information.
But go see it in theaters to support the filmmaker. The question is, this comes from Brandon Johnson. He said he's not surprised or intimidated by the results of Garcia's poll, and he's not dropping out. The question is, will he, Garcia, get out of the way of the movement? That's the question. Chewy has an opportunity here to join hand in hand with Black, brown, and white folks and Asians across the city that have already said that Johnson's leadership is what the city's looking for and what it needs, Johnson said. So this is where, Chicago Teachers Union supports Johnson, and now suddenly Chewy's coming out. That's why I think this is a spoiler effort. He went on to say, progressives across the city have already made the determination that I'm the best person to lead this city, and I'm in the best possible position to win. Well, I don't know about that, but folks are going to get to know me because the movement knows I'm in the best possible position to build a multicultural, multi-generational movement that's going to bring the type of transformation that the residents of the city have been longing for a generation now, he added. I am uniquely qualified as a teacher, as an organizer, as an elected official to do what past administrations have refused to do or not competent enough to do. Now, keep in mind, CTU endorsed Johnson because Chewy was not willing to give them an answer before. They decided, we got to move.
You snooze, you lose, Chewy. You're gonna get in now because the teachers union didn't want to wait for you. That's your fault. You'll wait till the next mayoral election if you want to run. You got time, you got money. You don't need to rush into this time around. We got plenty of good candidates that could probably beat Lori if they got together and figured out who was the best out of them. CTU has endorsed Johnson, so he might be a front runner now, although there's a handful of candidates that I know we're keeping an eye on who could have a chance if they can get the rest of their acts together. They need to bring money in. They got to make sure they got enough signatures to get on the ballot. And then when we find out who was able to do that and they have that first debate, we'll have a better idea of who's really going to be a challenging force versus Lori.
I've got a better idea, Ed. He can stay and finish the work he's supposed to do in Congress, whether the Democrats sweep or not.
Well, yeah, I don't think Chewy should be running at all.
That's what he should do, given the fact CTU and progressives in the city chose Johnson. Hang on a second, Ed.
Yeah.
Forget where you are.
I'm trying to queue up the next story, but unfortunately, YouTube decides when I press pause, it's not going to pay attention to me. Mm-hmm. All right, so Johnson said he's reminded of the history of what happened in 1982 when the same doubters and naysayers told Harold Washington he could not win. Folks wanted him to stand down, Johnson said, and tried to force one of the most progressive leaders that this country has ever had out of the race. He added, this is also very reminiscent of Obama and Hillary Clinton. People expected Obama to stand down because they believed it was her turn or that she had earned her right because she'd been around longer. Whether it's Harold, whether it's Obama, or whether it's someone like myself, you will constantly be faced with people who do not want to see transformation. Now, I have to say, having watched that documentary on Harold Washington, it's interesting because Johnson makes a good point. Not a lot of people were paying that much attention to Harold Washington when he decided to run. So perhaps I'm underestimating Mr. Johnson here because he certainly has grand aspirations and a sense of himself that as a progressive candidate supported by CTU, maybe he can emerge and campaign and get the public's support and affection the way Harold Washington did. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what we have to wait and find out. When he starts running ads, when we find out who's going to be in the debates and if he's going to be in there, we need to know what kind of popularity he's going to gain once that train starts rolling. Jack's right. Yeah, no one knows who he is now, but like Jerry said, nobody knew who Harold Washington was, really. I mean, unless you were, really paying attention to politics back then, national politics. So,
So can
maybe if they reach out to enough communities.
Let me interject here. Kathy, as an activist, has worked with him in the community. She also says, we, Chicago Teachers Union and UWF, have already decided on Brandon. I don't understand your negativity with him. I'm not being negative on him, Kathy.
No.
I'm not being negative at all. If anything, I think I'm being more negative on Garcia. What I'm asking here, though, is that what we're talking about, to what Jack mentions, yeah, great. CTU and UWF have endorsed him. Nobody across the rest of Chicagoland knows who he is. Similarly to nobody knew who Harold Washington was. So I'm not saying that's a liability or an asset yet.
We just don't know yet. It's too early.
Yeah, we need to see how he's going to get his platform out there to get more people to pay attention to what he wants to do as a progressive. Brandon will be at our dinner tomorrow night. I'll video him. Okay. Hey, you know what, Kathy? I'll go one better. If you have a connection with Mr. Johnson, can you ask him how we can get in touch with him to bring him on the show to talk about these things? I would really like to have him on the show and have a fair and diplomatic conversation. I'm not as disparaging of him as I am Lori. I don't know anything about him, so I'd look forward to a conversation with him, to have him on here and start sharing the things that we're wondering about when he likens himself to Harold Washington and what Harold's potential was before anybody who really knew who Harold was.
Yeah. When people use the word nobody, a lot of times it's generalizing.
Yeah.
We're
not.
Look, I until CTU announced that they were endorsing him, I had no idea who he was.
None of us did, and that was what 4 months, 5 months ago, maybe.
And that's no slam at him. It's just that he's not in. He clearly wasn't in the circles that I was paying attention to. So, like I said, it may be too early to really know what kind of impact he's going to have. But we've got time.
Now, Jack G shares, if I remember correctly, Daly, Tony, and Wilson had more money than Lori going to the first round, a lot more money. Chewy is generally well-liked. I think he has the best shot to beat her. Yeah, but Jack, is beating her going to change what's happening here in Chicago, or is it just going to be a rotation of the guard? That's my problem with Chewy. Okay, number one, he asked CTU to wait until he made up his mind because he's waiting to see what the midterms are going to be like. And I think it was on Joe Rogan. I love what Joe said. He said the red wave that's coming in midterms is going to be like the blood pouring out of the elevators in The Shining. That's what we're going to be looking at. Okay, so if Chewy is basing everything on what's best for Chewy, and you think he's got a better chance, the best shot to beat her. And I'm concerned that it's just a changing of the guard because I think that Chewy's service as a congressman has potentially, I don't know, man. Jack, I think that he's probably not going to be as progressive as we hope he is, whereas Brandon is and the CTU has vetted him. So, look, I'm not endorsing one or the other here. I'm just kind of calling out what I'm seeing and what I'm suspecting and what I'm speculating on based on record and facts. What I know about Chewy, what I know about Brandon. I don't know a lot about Brandon. I'm not going to doubt his dedication and his commitment to what he's saying. But, to your point, Kathy, nobody knows who he is. That's a broad generalization. I'm not saying everybody doesn't know who he is, but a large majority of Chicago does not know who he is since he, just emerged. So both candidates have got a lot of work to do to convince me which one might actually be the best choice to replace and get rid of Lori once and for all.
And, there's other candidates. We might get surprised. We'll see what happens. I don't know if Jamal Green is going to be able to surpass the other progressives that are currently trying to get on the ballot. But man, if you step up your game and get some money and get those signatures, and have a good showing in the debates, anything could happen.
Yeah, green is my favorite. Now, Kathy says Chewy's on an ego trip. I can lean towards what Kathy's saying there as I observe what's happening here, especially with his comments about everything depends on if the Democrats are.
Excuse me, did somebody say ego trip?
There she is, the one, the only, Lori Lightfoot.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that one go this time, Jerry, but I don't know why you think it's gonna be so easy to beat me with a bag of candy corn and circus peanuts.
But the thing is, well, okay, that's what Pegleg said. That's what would beat you.
I don't know who said it. I just heard it. Because I got spies watching your show, Jerry. They're everywhere. They hear everything.
I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, yeah, there it is. There she is, Chicago's biggest dick. So, Kathy, this is tomorrow.
Wait, I heard that Biden's going to be in town tonight, Jerry. I got to run and find out where he's hiding from me.
You got some money to go collect from Biden, Lori. I'd love to. Unfortunately, I have a prior commitment babysitting my nephews. Otherwise, I would totally be over there. I'd love to. So in my absence, if you can tell him about Chicago Corner, Kathy, and even if you can't get his personal info, ask who his press secretary is and forward that information along to us. I would really like to reach out to him to come on the show. So that's your homework. Please, can you do that? I would really appreciate that, because I wish I could make this dinner tomorrow night, but I can't. I already have a commitment to my sister with my nephews. Lastly, Jack G says, Harold had decades of experience at the federal and state levels of government. I'm sure Brandon is great. I may even agree with Brandon more on issues, but I do not know his policies. And that's what we need to find out more about. I agree. Mm-hmm. Hey, Ed, do you want to go tomorrow since I can't go?
Tomorrow? Actually, I think we had some other things scheduled tomorrow as well. Plus it's Guy Fawkes Day.
That's right. We've got our production meeting, and then I got to go to my sister's for my nephews. Yeah, unfortunately.
It's a packed day tomorrow.
Kathy, it's up to you to see if you can get Brandon's contact information so we can bring him on the show. Hey, we've had Jay Mal on in the past. I'd like to get Jay Mal on again. I doubt we'd get Chewy Garcia on here. But
hey, look, any candidates that want to come on the show, we'll give you equal time.
Why do I have to send him money to have him come on and tell us what he wants to do, Kathy? If he wants to share why he's the best choice to run against Lori, I mean, if I was there to enjoy the $30 a plate dinner, I would come. But I guess I'm not clear on why I need to send money to get his information to bring him on the show. So we'll talk about.
Yeah, we don't bribe people to come on this show. Especially candidates. That's probably unethical.
Oh, okay. It's for Northside Action for Justice, not Brandon. Okay, Kathy. So are you asking? Are you? All right. If I got to send you $30 for Northside Action for Justice, you need to commit and promise that you're going to get his information so we can reach out to him and bring him on the show. That's the quid pro quo. So game on. If you can do that, I will donate $30 to Northside Action for Justice. Transitioning into our next story, however, this popped up and it kind of follows up on the heels of Garcia's announcement. I think this is kind of funny. A Chicago mayoral candidate, Willie Wilson, says he'll move out of the city if Lightfoot is reelected. Let's listen to
move out now.
News.
Back here in 2019, now a heavy hitter could soon be the main challenger to Mayor Lightfoot's reelection.
The talk today, our political editor, Mike Flannery, back now with that. Mike.
Well, Dawn and Corey, a poll that Chewy Garcia paid for showed him leading.
Paid for that. Everybody's paying money to serve the people.
Contest. But philanthropist Willie Wilson says he'll be facing Lightfoot in next April's runoff, despite what Chewy Garcia's poll reports.
No, I don't believe that at all. Chewy need to do a lot more work, in my opinion. What have you done so far for Congress?
Wilson, a self-made multimillionaire who has attracted national attention this year, giving away about $5 million worth of gasoline, food, and mass transit fare cards, prompted Mayor Lightfoot to use taxpayer dollars in a similar giveaway, attempting to...
That was hilarious. He uses his money. She uses taxpayer money to try to buy out votes the way he's at least reaching into his own pocket.
In Garcia's poll of the crowded field likely to run in February 28th's first round mayoral election, Wilson was almost neck and neck with Garcia for a place in April's runoff. Wilson says Chicago is at a critical turning point.
If she got reelected, I'd move out of the city of Chicago.
Why is that?
Because you can't take the crime. You know, taxes high. I'm a business person as well. You know, you got red light taxes, you know, driveway taxes, head taxes. Crime is high. Policemen got bad morale. Who wanna live here?
Now, Chuy Garcia polling found that if February 28th round one election were held now, Mayor Lightfoot would get 22%, Garcia 14%, Wilson 12%, former public school CEO Paul Vallis 8%. In a hypothetical second round runoff election, the poll showed Garcia with 43%, Lightfoot 34%, and a large amount undecided. The survey does have a margin of error of about plus or minus 4 percentage points. Now, Garcia's
poll a huge margin.
Lightfoot with 43% to Wilson's 35%. In a hypothetical,
did they say how many people were polled?
Undecided.
No, not in this. They in the article they do.
He make the runoff. Congressman allies say he's now spending hours on the phone each day, lining up campaign contributions and endorsements in advance of launching a possible.
Just imagine he wouldn't have had to have done all that if he answered CTU's call. You know what it was, Ed? Let me tell you what it was. He thought that the Democrats are going to win the midterms, and now that he sees that it's not a done deal, now suddenly he's panicking.
Okay, I'm seeing the Sun-Times article right at the top. 616 likely Chicago voters.
Right. Yeah,
that's a very, very tiny poll. It's what I call a hashtag deceptive, unreliable garbage poll
that he paid for. So he's getting his money's worth spreading that misinformation.
Look, I mean, okay, if you're in a city or a smaller municipality, okay, sure, maybe 1,000 might be somewhat acceptable. Most polls, you're going to want to have at least 2,000 people polled, at least minimum, to get a decent sample. In Chicago, he didn't even get 1,000 people for this poll, so it's garbage. Doesn't
approve of your methods.
Yeah? Well, you're not from Chicago.
That's how they do things here.
Yeah. You're not from Chicago.
And the mayoral clown car continues. Oh, boy. Let me finish up the Fox 32 segment here and see what they added at the end.
Next week. They say Garcia is waiting to see whether Democrats
retain
control of the U.S. House on Tuesday. If they do not, look for Garcia to formally launch a campaign for mayor next Thursday, which would be 40 years to the day after Harold Washington launched his history-making run for mayor.
And you know he's going to milk that for all it's worth, don't you?
Yeah, it's like the rats fleeing the Titanic there.
Pretty much. And that, to me, says everything about why I would not vote for him then.
And is that why Chicago's #1 in rats? I don't know.
Ridiculous. Yeah, this does not, the Chuy Garcia that ran against Rahm Emanuel and who was mentored by Harold Washington, I don't think that Chuy Garcia exists anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Co-opted. All right.
Yeah, we should see if we can dig up some earlier videos of Chuy, like during the Harold Washington years, and see if we can find some juicy clips that compare him back then to where he is today. I'll have to add that to my little task list that I probably won't get to.
I was about to say, if you'd like to take on that task, as I'm cultivating other stuff for the show. We could certainly run that next week if he decides to jump in and remind people.
Old Chewy clips. Okay. I wrote it down. That's half the battle right there. All right.
So from the Chicago Tribune, this has been a matter of contention for a long time. The president's library that decided to use public park land instead of using private land it could have bought down near the University of Chicago campus. The Obama Library is going up in Jackson Park, I believe it is. Yeah. So from A.D. Quigg at the Chicago Tribune, judge rules against the group suing to stop Obama Presidential Center. Protect Our Parks plaintiffs say they'll move the fight to the appeals court. Now, the Friends of the Park, I think this is Friends of the Park. No, this is Protect Our Parks. It was Friends of the Parks that chased George Lucas's Star Wars library out of Chicago, which a lot of people would be surprised I wasn't a big fan of, because I don't think it belonged here. I didn't care that George Lucas married Melody Hobson and decided that they had the rights to build a museum on the lakefront and take over all that property.
No, and my main issue with it was that the design was not shaped like the Millennium Falcon. So
my main issue with it was that, honestly, Ed, it doesn't belong here. It belonged in Hollywood. I mean, Chicago's not known for it's like
it's not really known for they didn't shoot much Star Wars here or any.
It's like Lori Lightfoot trying to shove casinos down our throats. If you want to go to a casino, you go to Las Vegas. Okay, Chicago.
George Lucas film anything here?
No.
It's like
maybe his wedding video when he married Melody Hobson down in South Shore.
Okay.
So let me get to the story. That's some footage. That's some coverage of the library under construction. The long-waged fight by the group Protect Our Parks to halt construction of former President Barack Obama's Jackson Park Museum and campus has reached the end of the road in the federal district courts. But the plaintiffs' plans to take the case to the appellate level, continuing a years-long battle against a project that is well underway. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge John Robert Blakely entered a final judgment in favor of the defendants, including the Obama Foundation, several federal agencies, and the city of Chicago in the Northern District of Illinois. The Obama Foundation celebrated the decision as a milestone, declaring the decision a victory for all who have worked alongside us on this journey to bring investment and opportunity to Chicago's South Side. With this decision today, the court is making it possible for us to deliver on our commitment to create a world-class destination that will attract people from around the globe and stand as a reminder to all, but particularly young people in Chicago, that individuals have the power to be the change they want to see. But Richard Epstein, an attorney for Protect Our Parks, said his team supported the decision, which essentially cuts off their so far unsuccessful endeavor at the district level and allows them to take arguments up to the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. We don't want to run a trial on this. We know what the outcome is going to be. Judge Blakely won't vote for us when there have already been 3 decisions against us, Epstein said. People Protect Our Parks has long contended it doesn't oppose a South Side location for Obama's presidential center, but it's argued the Jackson Park plan would result in the clear cutting of mature trees, disruption of annual bird migratory flights, and the closing of 4 main South Side thoroughfares. It proposed locating west of Jackson Park near Washington Park instead. Now, it's already under construction, so, I mean, it's not like they can tear all this shit down now.
Yeah.
But the group's legal effort,
Jerry, it's Obama town.
Yeah. The group's legal efforts to stop the center, which date to 2018, have been unsuccessful. And while the court battle contributed to a groundbreaking delay, construction has been going on for more than a year. Trees have been cleared, roadway closures are in effect, and concrete structures are rising from the ground. The center is expected to debut in 2025 and cost about $700 million to construct, with another $90 million to prepare exhibits and cover the center's opening, plus $40 million for the first year's operations. Financial disclosures show the Obama Foundation paid the law firm Sidley Austin $6.2 million.
Damn.
These goddamn ads. Between 2018 and 2021, the vast majority related to the ongoing litigation with Protect Our Parks, a foundation official said. So yeah, I mean, look, as you said, Ed, yeah, it's Obama town, and what Obama wants, Obama gets.
Yeah, I hope it's worth it. I don't know who it's worth it for.
Have you seen Obama out stumping for the Democrats this election season?
It's mildly irritating because he thinks he can just. I'm being understated here. It's. I mean, he thinks he can just come back and do his same deal today without getting backlash, and of course he's now getting some backlash. As at least I started to see some people posting online videos where they're yelling at him how basically he was responsible for part of the deal in 2014 with Ukraine, which we won't go into details with right now. But and then so he's all about doing things for democracy and being and having decorum and being polite and everything. And people are like, dude, your buddy Joe is screwing everything up. He still owes us $600. He's possibly going to cause a World War III, and people are doing lousy. Everything costs too much. Gas prices are too high. And that's just the things on the top of my head.
Well, the first thing I do is,
just vote harder.
I want to share something.
Just vote harder.
Just vote harder. I want to share something with you that I came across. Because one of the main reasons that the Democratic Party is clearly going to lose this midterm election, and we're kind of shifting gears here just into a detour, but we are talking about Obama, right? It seems that everything related to the Democrat strategy right now is related to women's reproductive rights.
Oh,
they're running on abortion. They're running on. That's what they're running on.
Not economy,
not inflation. Everybody's talking about this. So when Obama, the kingmaker, who derails other candidates like, Bernie Sanders in the last primary election, when he decided to come out and stump for Joe and basically, rat fuck Sanders by getting Klobuchar and Buttigieg to drop out to coalesce around Biden. I'm reminded of this because, I'm sorry, I'm not reminded of that. I'm reminded of this video that I was about to bring up. Hang on a second. Because Biden has come forward and said...
the first thing I do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing. Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority.
Why not?
One more time. Let's watch that one more time since it was...
Well, the first thing I do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act.
When he was running, right? That's what he said he'd do. First thing. Then he's in.
That's the first thing. Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority.
Since he was in, and he promised it was going to be his first priority, they were going to codify it. They had control of Congress. They had control of everything. They never did it. Now Biden is out saying, you have to vote for us because if we win, we're going to codify it. It's like, motherfucker, you weren't looking at making it a priority from when, Obama, your taskmaster who decided to come out and prop you up as a puppet last primary, promised he was going to do it.
Yeah, and every time they promise, we got to protect this. Okay, well, you didn't protect it, and it's gone now.
Exactly. That's my point. That's what they will say anything and stand for nothing. And once they get your vote, after they've raised money and fundraised off of that issue and they get in, they will abandon it. That's what they always do, to save it for next time to run on. Or, when they lose, say that it's everybody else's, or when they're in, say that they have no control over it. Oh, it's the parliamentarian. Oh, it's this guy. It's that guy.
Yeah,
this is
why. Don't give me that garbage about they didn't have enough people, they didn't have enough votes. We know darn well that Congress uses leverage. Every member of Congress, every senator, every representative, they use the leverage they have to get the things that they need. They could have applied pressure. The president could have used his bully pulpit and applied pressure. The vice president could have gotten involved if she wasn't so feckless.
Nancy
but,
Pelosi controls the purse strings of everybody's campaign. You're going to tell me that Nancy Pelosi can't get what's her name, Cinema or Manchin in line, kick him in the ass and say, this is what you're going to do. Otherwise, we're not. They don't care. It's controlled opposition.
If they wanted to do something bad enough, they'd find a way to get all their majority members in line to get the things done. They keep rubber stamping all these funds going to Ukraine for weapons, but somehow they can't afford to send us the full amount of relief checks. They can't find a way to lock down gas prices and food prices. They can do these things. They're choosing not to. They're screwing everybody.
When you say this is a choice, all of this comes down to priority and choice. And it's not their priority to make that choice because they only look at how we were talking about what was going on with, our speculation regarding Garcia and Lightfoot. I mean, they could just be pawns being shuffled around the chessboard based on what the Democratic Party wants as far as its control of Chicago and the state of Illinois. There's nothing there that's supposed to there's nothing in this decision making that's meant to help the voters. It's only about maintaining the control that they have, assessing the landscape, looking at the percentages and all that polling, and moving pawns around the chessboard to maintain control of the game.
Yeah,
that's why we're critical of us. That's why we're critical of Democrats, and as well as I lump them in the same class as Republicans. They're all stabbing us. Well, I'm sorry, Republicans stab us in the face, Democrats stab us in the back. They both suck. You
can't keep making promises to do things and then not follow through and expect people to continue voting for you. It's not going to happen forever. I'm done. I exited after they cheated Bernie. I'm done. And Bernie was the furthest right I wanted to go.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, I had to abandon my affection for Sanders as well, given how he completely cucked out and betrayed the entire movement that was ready and willing to support him if he decided to say, I'm going through, I'm running as an independent. But he was too worried about. I honestly
wish Bernie had retired in 2020 because after that, he's basically been useless to us.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's get into our next story. As I get it up here, that's what she said. This came across. This is actually a story that got updated, but I do want to preface it with
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
For anybody who was watching this story, there was an update. Apparently, some student at Jones Prep decided it was a smart idea to go dress up as a Nazi for Halloween. Students rightfully protested. It was ridiculous that this was even allowed to happen. I guess the principal did not step forward and do anything at the time. Students threatened to go demonstrate on Monday and I guess cancel classes. So Chicago Public Schools did announce on Friday that Jones College Prep Principal Joseph Powers has been removed from principal duties effective immediately, pending the results of an investigation into his response to a student who came to school on Halloween dressed in a German military uniform, goose stepped across the stage during a costume contest, and gave a Nazi salute. There was actually video of this. From let me get that video.
I think I posted a link in the Slack.
Yeah, I had it on. It was on the Block Club Chicago link that I also have in our show notes here. Hang on a second, everybody. All right, let me see if I can. How quick that screen loads that I can run the video. This is crazy. I mean, it's like what? Okay, so this kind of a judgment call, Ed, reminds me of the judgment call of another college student who decided to pass out flyers throughout the parks. Remember we were talking about that story? The college student who was passing out the flyers to the homeless people that was saying that they.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was
another. Yeah, another
messed up in the
uh,
head there.
student of the same age. So here's what we saw at Jones Prep.
Seriously bad judgment here.
A staffer said
is it-
a culture and climate coordinator recently hired by the school was present for the Halloween parade, but did not intervene.
A really bad judgment and a bad stunt. Was the kid trying to get clicks on social media? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
just-
here's the principal who was there and didn't do anything about it.
I don't know.
Who is now
that kid?
suspended.
At a minimum, that kid should have got detention.
Detention. They should have.
Seriously.
They basically should have They should have accosted him
minimum.
and pulled. No, they should have pulled him out of the public area
And sent home, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm having some. Let me keep this picture up of the principal as we go into the story. Okay. So the Chicago Teachers Union on Friday had called for his removal, and students had planned to stage a walkout from class on Monday. As many of you may have heard, seen, or read, there was an incident earlier this week where a member of one of our school communities wore a German military uniform to school as a Halloween costume, an act that was widely recognized by many students, staff, and members of our broader CPS community as anti-Semitic. This incident caused harm to many students and staff, and it is completely inconsistent with our values as a school district, said Pedro Martinez, CPS Chief Executive Officer. In response, CPS has launched a full investigation into the incident in accordance with our district's protocols for processing bias-based harm. Furthermore, CPS has removed the school's leader from their principal duties effective immediately, pending the results of that investigation. Now, in April, Martinez declined to fire Powers because of insufficient evidence of misconduct after the high school's local school council voted 8-2 to direct Martinez to initiate dismissal proceedings for allegations of mishandled reports of sexual misconduct, mismanaged school finances, and a failure to address systematic discrimination issues, among other complaints. Now, this principal was being looked at for all of that stuff, and apparently it wasn't enough for them to say, you know what, you're out. It took allowing a student to goose step during a Halloween event for them to suddenly realize, oh, the optics don't look that good here. Maybe we ought to get him out now. I mean, I guess that there's an upside to the story that they got the principal out because clearly this guy was not in control of things properly to begin with over at Jones Prep. Far too long in coming and unacceptable that it took this video to make this happen, given the levels of anti-Blackness tolerated at this school for so long, said parent Cassie Creswell, former chair of the LSC, who helped write an 11-page letter to Martinez and the CPS Inspector General in February that outlined their concerns about Powers. But it is a relief that someone in central office made the right decision. Meanwhile, this week, students have taken to social media to condemn the principal for his response to the controversy. In a video posted to Twitter and TikTok, the student is seen on stage, we looked at that video, during a school costume contest where he goose-stepped a marching step largely associated with Nazi soldiers, and he did the Nazi salute to a booing crowd. In the photo attached to the post, Powers is standing next to the student in the outfit, and we actually have that photo as well. It's in our show thumbnail, but here you go. There's the principal. What the fuck was he thinking? What was he thinking? Crazy.
Yeah, stupidest phase, yes, but the stupid phase is actually pretty long. It's somewhere between
Okay, so let's
8 and 46, right, Jerry? Something like that. The entire stupid phase from beginning to end is usually in that range.
Let's say the stupid phase is that long, Ed. When you have the principal there standing next to him, doing nothing, how long are we supposed to wait for the stupid phase to wear out with the principal?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about
but yes, and look, I mean, I'm still in my stupid phase, but I try to get out of it from time to time. But seriously, if you're a principal, you got to try harder.
Well, There was a related story to this that also happened elsewhere in Cedar City. I'm going to bring this up. We have Nazis marching on. We'll probably get a YouTube strike for saying that word. We have students dressing up as German officers here. Meanwhile, in Cedar City Walmart, we've got kids wandering around in blackface and prison uniforms.
What is wrong with kids?
Does it start at home? Is it just parents or not?
I really want to think that maybe there's just a lead in the water epidemic in more cities than we realize. But I mean, Gene's right. You know, the stupid phase is definitely a thing. But come on, people.
Well, she also went on to say that she bets he was 14 or 15 years old. That is okay. You know what, Gene? I'm gonna grant everything that maybe this kid wasn't a Yahtzee. Okay, maybe he was just stupid, but the principal was there, allowing it to happen, and not shuffling this kid aside and saying, you know what, this is probably a bad idea. Let's get you in something else. Do you understand the severity? Do you understand do you understand what you're messaging here? Mm-hmm. We're not here to Nazis are not Halloween characters. Well, I guess maybe if Raiders of the Lost Ark or something.
They're not appropriate.
They're not appropriate. They're not appropriate Halloween characters
anymore. Right? There's too much stigma attached to World War II and the Nazis.
So apparently, kids, they're apparently not getting their history lessons right. Nor are these.
That's a problem.
Knuckleheads. Okay.
Well, and the principal should at least know their history too.
That's the point. It's like I'm
wondering,
Sorry to interrupt,
Jerry.
What are kids missing that they're deciding that dressing up as German soldiers or in blackface with prison uniforms, given the horrible history of racism and slavery in our country, is appropriate also. This is not local, but it does kind of relate. Let me just go into what happened here. A video showing teenagers dressing up in blackface as part of cops and robbers type Halloween costumes at a store in Cedar City drew widespread outrage on social media, prompting Utah officials, including Governor Spencer Cox, to weigh in and condemn the group. The video, posted to a private TikTok account early Tuesday, spread quickly online with largely critical responses from viewers disturbed by the racist nature of the images. The video shows a group of several young people, some dressed in blackface and prisoners' outfits and others dressed as law enforcement, at the Walmart in Cedar City, Utah, where they had apparently gone as customers. The person taking the video confronts the teens about their costumes, asking them if they understand the consequences of their actions, saying, "You guys are never going to get into college. You guys are not going to get any scholarships because this is a hate crime." Towards the end of the video, a second voice can be heard asking the people to leave the store. Let's run the video.
Do you understand that none of you will get
that way?
Do you guys understand the consequences of what you've just done?
No.
You guys are not going to get into a college. You guys are not going to get any scholarships because this is a hate crime.
We all dropped out of high school. It's okay.
If I still don't think it's appropriate for you guys to be doing this, it's really not funny.
It's
so yeah,
super offensive.
They thought it was funny.
And racist as hell.
Did you see how lightly they were taking the concept? What was going on there?
Kids are dumb.
But are those kids though, Ed? At that age, we say that kids' brains develop around 17, 18. These how old
25. They don't let you rent a car until you're 25.
I'm getting from this article that these were kids.
I'm not saying that's how old they were.
One of the teens responds by saying, "We all dropped out of high school. It's okay," drawing laughs from some of the other teens.
Yeah, so which means they're probably in their late teens, early 20s, which is.
Gene says, "I have a
really
14-year-old student I tutor, and he does things to make his school teachers angry because they are rude and disrespectful to him. He does it for revenge, writes a report about communists, etc." Okay, but I bet he's not going to dress up as a German and goose step into school. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say here. I just wonder, like, what students are missing from being taught history and not understanding that this is not only in really bad taste, but it's basically making light of, I don't know, the Holocaust, slavery, racism, and they seem to take it so lightly when they're confronted, laughing about it.
Okay, yeah, and we got a few comments in here about, context and everything. Big Mr. Firebird says, that's not a German helmet on that student, too shallow, just saying. I'm like, yeah, but, historical accuracy aside, the dude was totally on a table goose-stepping. So, kind of throws that out the window there, You couldn't get a historically accurate costume to be a racist on Halloween? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to tone police what people. I mean, look, Halloween is a showcase for people exhibiting bad taste with their costumes, but that just, I think, goes a little bit too far. Speaking of Halloween costumes, Ed, actually, I have a good transition here. If I can get my windows opened up. Stand by, please. Can you hit that, please stand by?
I can, if I can find it on this thing. Oh, wait, where is that? Please stand by to...
All right. Speaking of Halloween costumes, remember when we shared this on our Halloween show?
I do.
The Chirac Gangbanger includes EBT card, mongoose bike, Ventura card, oversized shorts, face tattoo, which I've commented on in the past. I don't want to shame anybody with tattoos, but I think the face tattoo. Right. Hold on. Let me finish. Okay.
Go ahead.
White t-shirt, loose squares, white Air Force Ones, fake chain, will turn your neck green and shag. Well, we all took that as a joke, one of those Spirit Halloween costume memes. However, boom. I got this notification from my alderman, Deborah Silverstein, in an email, and I'll share with you what I got in my email, which was really freaked me out. The 24th District Police have arrested a suspect believed to be involved in multiple crimes across 3 police districts. Jeremiah Magdalena was arrested along with a female accomplice, Jessica Daode. Now, the update from my alderman's office, of course, this is just taking forever to load. Hang on. Continued. The suspect was charged with 10 felonies, including burglary, robbery, aggravated battery, and vehicular hijacking. The female accomplice was charged with 1 count of criminal trespass to vehicle. The police believe Jeremiah Magdaleno has ties to multiple crimes committed in the past several weeks in the 24th, 20th, and 16th police districts, including the vehicle hijacking and battery of a 68-year-old victim in the 6600 block of North Mozart. The full list of charges filed against him are as follows: 3 felony counts of burglary, 2 felony counts receive, possess, sell stolen vehicle, 2 felony counts robbery, armed, other dangerous weapon, 1 felony count vehicular hijacking, aggravated, handicapped, 1 felony count aggravated battery use of a deadly weapon, 1 felony count aggravated battery victim 60 years old plus. Jeremiah Magdaleno and Jessica Daode were arrested by 24th District Day Watch and Robbery Mission Team personnel on October 30th on the 2500th block of West Toohey. I will update you with more information when it becomes available. So in checking the news, WGN reported on it, and here are more details. Well, I went through all of the charges, committed all these crimes, right? Now it comes to us from CWB Chicago. Doesn't it make you wonder, like, how was this guy getting away with all these crimes over such a long period of time in so many different neighborhoods? Well, here we go. He was free on bond. CWB Chicago reports.
How?
He was on bail for
Was he
a
free
felony drug case, officials say. He was on bail. There he is. He went on a weeks-long significant crime spree across the north side while on bail for a felony narcotics case, officials said Tuesday. Jeremiah Magdaleno, 26, is charged with 10 felonies, including the vehicular hijacking. Now, the incidents began on September 28th when Magdaleno allegedly broke into an apartment building in the 1300 block of West Morse and stole up to 20 packages from the mailroom. Prosecutors said the burglary and video was recorded. I'm sorry, the burglary was video recorded. Police arrested Magdaleno near the Howard CTA station on October 13th and charged him with failing to register as a gun offender and a felony possession of a controlled substance, according to CPD records. The next day, there are judges up for election next week, everybody. The next day, Judge Barbara Dawkins released him on his own recognizance. October 13th. Then, while free on bond, Magdaleno allegedly launched a 9-day crime spree.
Wait, which thing was he out on bail for?
He was out on bail with failing to register as a gun offender and felony possession of a controlled substance, according to CPD records on October 13th.
So they knew nothing about all the other stuff.
Well, no, he committed the other stuff after Judge Barbara Dawkins released him on his own recognizance.
Okay.
He failed to register as a previous gun offender, Ed. He had already been charged as a gun offender.
Okay.
He stole up to 20 packages from the mailroom, and the burglary was video recorded. These incidents from September 28th before October 18th. Prosecutors said after he was free on bond and launched his 9-day crime spree, he stole an SUV that had been left running in the 6200 block of West Newport on October 21st and spray painted it black. 5 days later, he allegedly broke into a Marathon gas station in the 5600 block of North Lincoln and stole 3 vehicle titles and a check. The next day, he broke into the same business again, taking 70 packs of Newport cigarettes before escaping in a black Chevy Tahoe, prosecutors said. On October 29th, a 68-year-old man parked in his garage in the 6,000th block of North Mozart as Magdaleno rolled up in a black truck. Prosecutors said he hit the man in the face with a metal object, stole the man's car. Magdaleno's girlfriend, who had been in the truck's passenger seat, moved to the driver's seat and followed him. Doctors closed the gash on the victim's face with 7 stitches. Everybody, judges are up for election next week. Judge Barbara Dawkins let this asshole out on his own recognizance. And Ed, I know you give me a lot of trouble for when I talk about the face tattoo with these repeat offenders. But if I'm a judge and this guy's brought to me before the cops and I know that he committed a burglary and there's video and he failed to register as a gun offender and felony possession of a controlled substance, and this is how he shows up in the courtroom, I'm setting a really high bail to make sure he's not getting out. I don't care. We're all for bail reform here, but this was a violent offender. This was this guy clearly presented the case for being concerned that he would be a violent offender.
Yeah, but you can't base it off of someone's appearance, though.
I didn't. No. You didn't hear what I said.
That's the only thing I'm going to say there.
No.
Right.
You didn't hear what I said. He was brought into court on everything else.
Okay.
That should have already put him away. Okay.
When I see this,
benefit of the doubt for everything else is out the window. Okay.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
That's right.
Okay. I'm not saying judge everybody on their tattoos. I'm not saying judge everybody on their face tattoos. But when someone ends up in court with the litany of other charges, and I see this, I'm sorry, I'm setting a really high bail to make sure he doesn't go out on the streets anymore.
All I'm saying, Jerry, is that just because he has a tattoo on his forehead that says do many crimes, as many crimes as possible, and that wraps around his head and down the neck and everything, I'm saying just because that is his appearance doesn't mean he's doing many crimes.
It doesn't. I just read off the litany of what he's done, and you don't think that's maybe a hint and a half that.
No, I'm just riffing off the fact that you can't just.
I don't judge people on their
actions. I'm
judging,
right.
I'm judging.
It's based on what they did or what they're being alleged. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
What I'm saying is, this is the final nail in the coffin of everything else I'm judging him on with what was reported in court, his complete rap sheet. That's what I'm saying. That's basically where it's like, I'm sorry, I'm drawing the line. I think that, we don't want to judge people on appearances, but when the guy who set Joseph Cromulus on fire looked like this, when Machete, who was running around Chicago threatening people with his machete, looked like this. Oh, by the way, both of those two perps had prior records, had prior rap sheets. So I guess what I'm trying to impress upon you is, I'm not going to judge somebody solely on their appearance, but when they end up in a courtroom with a rap sheet that long and I see they look like this, I'm sorry, I'm not granting bail. That's my point. So,
okay. As long as we're not profiling here, Jerry.
There are qualifiers.
So, I just wanted to clarify that we're not profiling people here.
I'm looking at the live chat here.
Well, not based on their appearance anyway.
All right, Art. No, I don't think that the costume was a Mexican. I think that the spirit costume was a gangbanger. I think that you can be a white trash gangbanger too with the tattoos. It's not. I hope that you're not taking this to mean that it's pointing at the ethnicity of a gangbanger. Oh, let's see what else is in the live chat. Yeah, you know what? I've seen death gang tattoos on cops too. Yeah, I have too, Gene. And let me ask you this, Ed. See, this is a case where sometimes I try to get past my bias. When I see cops with tattoos all over them, I start to wonder, like, what the F's wrong with them too. Because a lot of them are very violent as well. And I've seen.
Okay, I'm just saying, you can't. Again, we're talking about appearance, and maybe there are certain things that over the decades of our lives we've come to be sensitive to, and clearly for you, it's people with tattoos. I know many people with tattoos who are wonderful people, is all I'm saying.
Did I say all people with tattoos are bad people or all criminals?
No, I'm just saying
I said when someone shows up in court
by its cover,
or when somebody has a record like this and you see this added, I'd say that there's probably some really poor judgment going on in their lives that you should not let them back on the street. I'm not saying go wrangle up everybody who's got tattoos, Ed. I think you're misunderstanding me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that at this level, when you constantly see violent offenders with rap sheets and this, I think it's probably a pretty good bet that there's a screw loose, and you keep them locked up. And I would also say, well, if we're not going to judge on appearances, I just think it's in really bad taste for law enforcement officials to be tattooed all over their bodies too. I don't know. I'm not a big tattoo fan, but whatever. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate and a lot of shit for saying that, but
it's beside the point, though.
It's beside the point. Yeah.
You can Google LASD gangs if you want to know our opinion about the type of cops that are likely to have tattoos, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are those kind of.
I like Gene's point here. Yeah, you're right. I guess, you can also can't base on appearances with smooth talking con men who were presidents previously. But this drives me nuts. This guy had all of these priors and they let him out so he could go commit more crimes. Judge Barbara Dawkins, remember that name, along with the Girl, I Guess, Voters Guide, if people want to go look at the lists of judges and their records and see who deserves re-election or who should be booted out. Let me go on through the article. Okay, so prosecutors said 2 titles taken from the gas station were found inside the stolen car. They also noted that while the 68-year-old hijacking victim could not identify Magdaleno, both Magdaleno and his girlfriend did identify the 68-year-old as the person Magdaleno carjacked. Magdaleno's public defender said he is homeless and has 3 children between the ages of 3 months and 5 years. I guess that's why the judge decided to let him out. He's charged with 3 counts of burglary, 2 counts of processing a stolen motor vehicle, 2 counts of armed robbery, aggravated vehicular hijacking of a person over the age of 60, aggravated battery of a person over the age of 60, and aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. Judge Susana Ortiz noted that Magdalena was accused of a significant crime spree as she held him without bail. She also held him without bail for violating bond in his pending narcotics case. Prosecutors did not announce any charges against his girlfriend. The Halloween description of a Chirac gangbanger does seem like you're describing the traditional Mexican look that some young men wear. I've seen young white men wear that look, Jane. I've seen gangbangers who are white in other parts of the country sport the same look. So a lot of misunderstanding, Jerry, comes with judgmentalism. Well, you have a right to that opinion. I'm just tired of seeing these people like this running around, setting people on fire. People like this being criminals with no judgment, no conscience, sociopaths. That's not race specific. It's not gender specific. It's not age specific. Anyway. All right, let me pull this one down and go to our next story. What else were we covering tonight? I wish my browser would load stuff faster.
Okay.
Okay, I got it. Got it going.
Are we gonna do the police response one?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I'm just loading it. Speaking of police and police response, while we're letting guys out who aren't registering as gun offenders out on bail so that they can go on crime sprees, arresting the person who essentially assaulted you is now a do-it-yourself thing because police response time is near next to nowhere. Pregnant robbery victim waits an hour for Chicago police response, then gives up and finds the offender herself. I'm sorry, robbery victim, not assault victim. A pregnant Chicago woman called 911 twice to report that she had been robbed at knife point outside a laundromat on Friday evening, but Chicago police never responded. While extended wait times for police responses are common in Chicago, this case is a little different than from most. The woman loaded her clean laundry into her car and prepared to drive away when 2 men approached a vehicle outside Sparkle Laundry, 6631 South Kedzie, around 10:30 p.m. One of the men asked her for money and reached through the driver's side window and placed a pointed object into her stomach, prosecutors said. He then ripped a gold necklace from the woman's neck and walked away. And here's that piece of shit. Prosecutors said the woman called her husband, then called Chicago police. The husband showed up within 3 minutes. The police, not so much. See, Gene, I'm fair about calling out the pieces of shit in the police department as well. Okay. CPD dispatch records confirm the woman's account. A dispatcher read out the robbery call around 10:40 p.m., but because no officers were available to handle the call, the assignment was not given to an officer for over an hour, around 11:45 p.m. The dispatcher noted that the delayed response was way over the time that such calls should be assigned. A pregnant woman, no response. By then, the woman had given up on waiting for a police response, and she went to the Chicago Law and 8th District Station to file a report. As she was driving home, the woman saw the robber and the man he was with walking in the 6300 block of South Kedzie. She pulled a U-turn and flagged down a Chicago police squad car to tell them what happened. Dispatch records indicate that it occurred around midnight. The cops caught the man, identified by prosecutors as Kevin Hall, 25, after a foot chase. Police also recovered a knife from some bushes nearby, prosecutors said. Hall was released from prison on September 1st after serving half of 2 3-year sentences that he received for aggravated battery of police officers, according to Illinois Department of Corrections records. So, released from prison September 1st after serving half of 2 3-year sentences that he received for aggravated battery of police officers. Now he's out stalking pregnant women and robbing them. Judge Kelly McCarthy ordered him to pay a $20,000 deposit towards bail to get out of jail. Separately, she held him without bail until IDOC reviews his parole status. The woman's experience with Chicago police is neither unique nor unusual. Local patrol districts frequently have more requests for help than they can handle. When calls start to stack up, dispatchers declare a backlog known as a RAP or radio assignments pending status. CPD districts entered backlogs 11,721 times last year, according to information wire points obtained via a Freedom of Information request. That was nearly as many as 2019 and 2020 combined, according to the data. Last year, 52% of the city's highest priority 911 calls were received during backlogs, wire points found. The Chicago Police Department currently has 11,649 officers on the force, according to the Chicago Office of the Inspector General. That's down from 12,067 1 year ago and 13,163 in October of 2019. I guess we can understand now why neighborhoods are hiring private security forces.
Yeah. I mean, they keep talking about how they don't have enough resources or enough money or enough personnel. And I'm like, well, where are your personnel focusing their resources right now?
When a pregnant robbery victim calls you and they don't even show up. I mean, you know what, Ed? Let's just say this. If you're a dispatcher and you're prioritizing, who you're dispatching, a pregnant woman who's carrying a child that would also be in danger, I would imagine that, like, in the list of training, like, you're going to prioritize your dispatches. I would imagine. I guess I don't know. It's wishful thinking, but that's what blows me away. And then when they show up and this guy, just got out of prison, leaves me at a loss.
I don't know. I mean, who's prioritizing, where the cops are going on these radio calls, right? Are the cops just hoping, just going to the ones that sound exciting to them? Oh, there's shots fired. Let's go to that one. But, woman gets robbed. Dude is fleeing. That's a crime too.
Are we bitching? Yes. Are we trying to find solutions? Yes. In this case, I got to wonder, like, what is police dispatch training like that a pregnant woman who's just been robbed is not given any kind of a priority?
Yeah. Big Mr. Firebird is correct too. As soon as that chat comes available here. Yes.
What did he show?
Cops too busy on film sets.
Ah, yes. Yes. You nailed it. That's true. We reported on this. Thank you for reminding me, Big Mr. Firebird. We did report on this, where apparently these film sets that have multi-million-dollar budgets, TV sets, normally they will hire off-duty police officers. So let's be fair and clear here. They will hire off-duty police officers to provide security because they have it in their budget. But apparently, when there was some kind of a threat or there was some fear that something could happen on a TV set not too long ago, the precinct decided to dispatch on-duty officers to go provide extra security for the film set because I guess that they hadn't hired enough private security or off-duty police officers themselves. So, Big Mr. Firebird, you win the show tonight. Yeah. Priorities. I mean, how are they prioritizing where they're dispatching the officers on duty? Now, speaking of shots fired, as we did a moment ago, this story happened early this week, and there were no updates. I did say that we were going to mention it, though, I did look online today, and there's been no updates. For anybody who saw the story early in the week, Mayor Lightfoot's police detail fired shots in Logan Square after grandfather robbed at gunpoint. Luis Antonio Zayas was waiting to take his grandson to school when he was attacked by armed robbers. Lightfoot's police detail shot at the robbers, but they did not apprehend the robbers. An officer was injured. The article went on to say, and this was reported by Mina Bloom at Block Club Chicago, Zayas gave the men his wallet when they pulled him out of his car, ripping his pants. Amid the chaos, Zayas yelled for help from police, and several officers came running out of a city-owned police building across the street. Zayas and witnesses said officers shot at the armed robbers as they drove off, Zayas and witnesses said. Here's the victim. Additionally, police spokesman Tom Ahern and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, the agency that investigates police shootings, confirmed the shooting involved police. Ahern said the officers are part of Lightfoot's security detail. The officers involved were from the Detached Services Unit, according to a police news release. They saw a robbery in progress, and there was an exchange of gunfire. The robbers got away, and no guns have been found, police said. An officer had minor injuries and was treated at an area hospital. No further details, though, on
I'm not seeing any updates.
Security detail dropped the ball in like shooting at these guys who assaulted and robbed this poor man and managed to escape.
Yeah, shouldn't be your first response to shoot.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, they escalated really quickly there, and it's interesting that they didn't hit the fleeing robbers. All right, let me get up the other story here. All right, so we are at the end of our show. I thought I would pull these stories up because I had kind of a humorous take on it. But I don't think there's been any updates on this story either. I think before the show, Ed, you may have shared.
I did a search, and I found a video, but I can't find any major updates, although it did a little investigation as to what it might be. But we can talk about that after you read the article here.
Yeah. This comes to us from Maribel Gonzalez at CBS Chicago. An unbearable stench evoking rotten eggs and vomit has hovered for days in Brighton Park. And I think that there was was there an image here? There wasn't an image. There wasn't any video.
An image of the stench?
No, I thought of the neighborhood or talking to people in the neighborhood. Let me just read from the story. Residents in the Brighton Park neighborhood say they've been dealing with an unbearable smell for the past couple days. The cause of the stench is unknown, and now residents are calling on the city to get to the bottom of it. CBS 2's Mary Bell Gonzalez could smell it herself right when she arrived in the area. Now, my commentary is that there were no reports of alder people, Kappelman, or who was the other guy at City Council? Voldemort. What was his name?
Aldermort Gardner.
Gardner. Yeah. Jim Gardner wasn't in the area either, nor was Lori Lightfoot. So any speculation regarding them potentially adding to the stench was unfounded. The strong odor comes in waves. Residents said it was so awful that they weren't even able to enjoy the beautiful weather outside this week. It smells like garbage, like rotten food, pretty much like someone just threw up in your neighborhood, said Brighton Park resident Felipe Lopez. Lopez said the stench has been lingering in the neighborhood since Monday. It was unbearable to be outside. He said you could even open the doors and you couldn't do anything outside. And he is not the only one dealing with the stink. Dozens of other residents chimed in online, posting in a community group. They described the smell of rotten eggs and vomit, even saying it made them dizzy. It's not even just my neighborhood from 3 blocks away, Lopez said. So people from Sawyer, even further down to Archer, are saying they're smelling this as well. Alderman George Cardenas of the 12th said his office has heard about the smell too. Any idea of where this could be coming from? Are there any theories on it? Cardenas, my ward superintendent believes that it could be coming from a couple of sources. There's a company that does garbage disposal. That could be one of those. And there's also a couple of factories there south of 48th that could be culprits. But neighbors say the stench is one they've never smelled before in their industrial community, at least not one this strong. I've been here for about 20 years and I've never had a smell like this, especially not for 2 or 3 days that it lingers, Lopez said. A source of the smell is still a mystery. So Alderman Cardenas says he's getting the city's Department of Public Health involved. So we don't know, Cardenas said. The idea is to send an inspector to, for all intents and purposes, kind of sniff around. Alderman Cardenas is asking people to call his office and report any strong smells so they can better pinpoint the areas. So, yeah, Kathy, boom. That's where my mind went. I wonder if
there is a new
killer in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I could get to that story, but I had a few other speculations first, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
Well, the first one is that there is a neighborhood called Stickney, which is just west of Brighton Park, and you can see right. Let's see, can I get my mouse to show up here? Right over here is a Stickney water reclamation plant. Now, if the wind is blowing right, and that water reclamation plant has, the right conditions where all the fumes are going and the wind is blowing toward Brighton Park, it definitely could do that. That is something that could happen there. But there is that
is some good detective work. I didn't think to pull up a map as you did. As Gene mentions, they've smelled it before, just not that strong for that long. So your speculation makes a lot of sense.
Something got really funky at the water reclamation plant is definitely that sounds reasonable, like a reasonable possibility there. Here's another one which I thought was weird because I went on DuckDuckGo and I typed Chicago stench and it came up with this. I'm like, what the hell?
And that's not even in Chicago. That's in Des Moines. How did that?
Yeah. For those who can't read that, the headline says Donald Trump teases Iowa crowd. I will very, very probably run for president.
They're speculating
bad.
They're speculating he's going to announce right before midterms next week to try to sabotage the vote. So Kathy also mentions dead body in the reclamation plant. I mean, who knows if there's a dead body in that water reclamation system?
Well, I don't know if it was in the plant so much as near the plant, but there was a story, speaking of Stickney and Brighton Park. Let's see if I can pull this up here, which is just a little bit outside of our area here, but Lincolnwood.
That's right next to me.
A restaurant owner in Lincolnwood was charged with strangling his pregnant girlfriend to death and hiding the body. Guess where the body was found?
How old is this story? Yesterday.
This from yesterday.
I didn't see this.
A North Suburban restaurant owner accused of killing his pregnant girlfriend and unborn child allegedly wrote several apology notes after her murder. Okay, we don't need the details of this, but
whoa.
So he let's see. Here it is. Where did they find her?
Wow.
They found her at the water reclamation plant in Stickney.
Really?
So the story's crazy. You guys can check it out. I'll post a link.
So there's a connection there then. They found the body at the water reclamation plant in Stickney?
Yeah, let me see if
he drove down Cicero Avenue.
Find the part of the story where they
Scroll up. Scroll back up. They mentioned where he disposed of the body.
Oh, right? Here we go. Prosecutors said Shen then drove down Cicero Avenue to dispose of her body in the Stickney water reclamation area, where he covered her body with branches and threw her pink jacket into a wooden area. So it was in the area. We don't know. I mean, one body can't possibly be causing the amount of stench that they're experiencing in Brighton Park, but I just thought it was kind of weird that this story was one thing I found that happened just recently. The dude is getting prosecuted while we're still trying to figure out where the stench is coming from.
Okay, so you know what Ed earned tonight, everybody? This is what Ed earned his detective laurels tonight. He is Chicago's greatest detective.
Well, here I am.
You earned the Batman Detective Award tonight, Ed. That's actually some like really good connect the dots there.
Yeah,
I mean, the body being dumped there, I don't know, but I mean, still, the fact you were able to like figure out the possibility of the wind patterns and that they've smelled.
I'm just, it made a lot of sense, and I wasn't the only one who came up with the possibility that could be what it was. I think someone online had said that maybe it was the water reclamation plant in Stickney. And I was like, okay, well, let's pull up a map and see where that thing is. And sure enough, it's not that far from Brighton Park. So yeah, we have a lot of processing facilities in the city that they process all kinds of things. Water reclamation clearly is one of those important things, but if you live close to one, you know how sometimes those can give off a rank odor, and you never know which way the wind's blowing there, and what is in the water that they need to process, and whether they're handling it properly, how their emissions are. That's another thing that the EPA should probably look into. Will they? We don't know.
I live a block from Little India, where Western and Devon, where it's just block after block of Indian restaurants, really good food, really good dining here. But a block away from me, every time I drive out of my garage at the intersection of Campbell and Devon, and it's a very well, traveled area. People are out there on the sidewalks at night, and it's festive and stuff. Ed, it smells like a really, really bad sewer. And I'm like, with all the restaurants around me, it just shocks me that the sewage smell is that bad in a restaurant.
There's parts of the city where you drive by and you just picking up odors that are could be sewer gas coming through the manhole covers. It could be dumpsters in the back of restaurants that aren't being emptied fast enough. If the garbage trucks aren't coming by enough times, it can get pretty bad. And it could also be the trash dumps. So like the garbage trucks, especially, after a big rain, you get that garbage truck water. That stuff's nasty.
Yeah, you make a good point. It's all the big industrial garbage cans in the alleys probably that are not the trash is not being picked up fast enough, and that's probably also contributing to it.
So yeah, I mean, it's a big city. I mean, these things are bound to happen, but maybe if we had a better mayor who was taking care of her city, staying on top of those types of things, municipal services, to be able to support all the local businesses in a way that they deserve to be supported, maybe we wouldn't have so many stenches in various parts of the city. I'm just saying.
True. All right. Going into our last story, I thought this was kind of timely, given the fact that this past week, I'm not going to run it here because I know that we risk a copyright strike if I were to do so, as much as I'd like to share it. But there is a sequel coming out, I believe, I want to say November 17th or November 18th, to A Christmas Story.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Christmas Story, Christmas is coming out, and they got back Peter Billingsley, who played Ralphie in the original Christmas Story, and the trailer just looks delightful. I was watching A Christmas Story the other night. I had it running on my computer here while I routinely will have a movie that I've seen a million times running in the background just to keep me distracted while I'm working on stuff, knowing that I'm not going to miss anything. But it's funny, I was just watching Christmas Story last night, or having it run, and this story popped up in my story search tonight, which reminded me of the scene in A Christmas Story where Ralphie goes to see Santa Claus at the department store. So the season is upon us. The Christmas tree lighting is coming up at Old Marshall Fields, now Macy's, as reported by Mala Pandey. It's the most wonderful time of the year, people. Coming up, Macy's on State Street to host tree lighting. Kickoff Santa Claus visits this Saturday, which is tomorrow. Reservations are open to visit. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving yet, and the tree's going up.
Yeah, and they're talking, yeah.
Reservations are open to visit
crazy.
Santa Claus and dine at the Walnut Room under the 45-foot tall tree. I've never gone and dined under the 45-foot tall tree. Maybe this year. I wish I could find someone to go with. Maybe I'm too much of a curmudgeon to find someone to join me. Or I'll take my nephews and my niece if she's in town. That might be fun. All right, so residents can attend the 115th annual tree lighting ceremony, 11:15 a.m. Saturday at Macy's Walnut Room, 111 North State Street. This year's toy shop themed tree will be on display until January 8th, according to a Macy's news release. Throughout the season, visitors can dine under the tree at the Walnut Room. Restaurant reservations for the season are available on Open Table. Families who want to see Santa by December 24th must also make reservations. I didn't know seeing Santa. Art, you're on. I didn't know that seeing Santa required reservations nowadays. I guess there are that many people taking their kids. Reservations can be made up to 5 days in advance and open online 6:30 a.m. daily. Santa will be at his desk, wish list in hand, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, with average wait times of 30 to 90 minutes, according to Macy's. Saturday also signals the unveiling of the store's holiday window displays. So, Christmas is upon us. I remember when Macy's was Marshall Fields, and they had their Christmas mascots, Uncle Mistletoe and Aunt Holly. Do you remember that, Ed?
I don't remember that.
They had a branded.
But I don't know why, but I'm getting a little shaky about you bringing up Santa Claus, though. I can't explain it.
Why are you getting hinky over Santa Claus?
I'm getting a little shaky about it. Hey, did somebody see that son of a gun, Nick, that dude that burned down our bar and 1/3 of the city? I gotta have words with that guy.
That would be Pegler.
You guys know it wasn't me. It was that Santa Claus. He went on a joyride in October. That drunk bastard with his reindeer, and he landed in my barn, and then he took Bessie for a joyride, and then he brought her back, and he kicked over the lantern, and he started the barn on fire. It was mayhem. And they all blamed me.
See, if this had happened today, I'd be blaming one of Cabello's clones. So here, Warren's in the chat. There's another great movie coming out. A great Christmas movie is Violent Night with Sheriff Hopper from Stranger Things. That's coming out too. That's going to be fun. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, I haven't, but I did see the other one.
It looks like, in any movie in the past where we've seen satirical parody Christmas trailers where Santa's a slasher. Yeah. Well, someone actually decided to make that feature-length movie that we basically, has been a source of jokes in other movies. So Gene shares, there are reservations now because Santa is in a union now and he limits the number of people on his lap. Huh. Kathy shares, I thought Rudolph lit the fire with his nose.
Yeah, this was before Rudolph, I think.
So Uncle Warren, yeah, I did see the trailer. It looks good. They put it online not too long ago. But I'm really looking forward to A Christmas Story Christmas. And Art, my friend, yes. Amazing how Peter Billingsley has grown to look like Darren McGavin, who played the old man. There's now a resemblance. Darren McGavin, who's also famously known for playing Carl Kolchak, the Night Stalker, who is
that's right.
a frequent reference on our Halloween show since he used to hunt supernatural stories here in Chicago. Darren McGavin. So when I was watching A Christmas Story the other night, there was some stuff in Darren McGavin's performance as the old man coming up from the basement and being all curmudgeonly and grumpy when his wife dropped the leg lamp. Ed, he reminded me a lot of my own dad. And remember, I showed the Spirit Halloween.
Not the finger!
On Tuesday. Yeah, my dad is bearing a distinct resemblance to the old man in A Christmas Story, which is kind of charming to me. Anyway, that brings our show. Yes, Fragile. It must be Italian. And yes, he did make a few appearances on the X-Files. In fact,
Sons of bitches, purposes!
In fact, the Night Stalker is what inspired who's the producer of the X-Files? Chris Carter to create the X-Files. Kolchak, the Night Stalker, was a big influence on that show, and he did make a few appearances. Now, I'll tell you something extra trivia, Warren. Chris Carter wanted Darren McGavin to basically reprise Carl Kolchak on the X-Files when he appeared, but apparently they couldn't clear the rights because Kolchak was a Universal intellectual property.
Those bastards.
Those bastards. It would have been great. Yes, he was the king. Charming man, too. If you ever go on YouTube, look up television interviews with Darren McGavin. He was a very gracious performer. Yeah, his big roles were The Old Man and Kolchak the Night Stalker. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our show, the end of our program. Anything you want to share, Ed, before we both go forward?
Can we throw a little mood? Can we throw a little mood music in at the end of the show, Jerry?
It'll probably get us a copyright strike, but why not?
No, it won't.
Oh, you're humming right now?
Isn't that great? Yeah, while my mouth is moving, it's awesome, isn't it?
You're running a recording of Girl from Ipanema. Did you hum that? You hummed that.
Oh, was that me?
Where's that coming from?
I don't know. I just hit the start button on the music.
Hit the start. What, did you upload it? Oh, I see. You've got it. Background music in our StreamYard control.
So anyway, yeah, the last thing I could say, let's see. The Museum of Science and Industry is going to have a Moldorama exhibit I'm super excited about when it comes. You guys know what those Moldoramas are, right? Those things that, like, the smell of that is unforgettable. It's not, I would not consider that a stench at all. It's delightful.
I must interrupt you for a moment, Ed, because we got a $1 super chat from Kathy Powers, and you know what that means.
I do.
Is that my gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
Here. This is what you're looking for, right?
Look, my eyes, startling, help! I'm the leprechaun. Garth, I'm the...
It's our nightly dose of Lori Lightfoot. So I can... How do I... Okay, enough of that. All right. That's it for tonight, everybody. Anything else you want to share, Ed?
Oh, if you want to learn how to make Chicago-style deep dish pizza at home, go to realdeepdish.com.
Art, good luck on the new job Monday. We'll have to talk. I'd like to find out what that is. I'd like to have you on the show as a co-host again, Art, sometime when you want to join us. Oh, by the way, Art's movie, A Cold Farewell, an animated film that he personally hand animated, has now won, what is it, Art? I think not 7 film festival awards. 7 film festival awards. I'm so proud of my friend directing his animated film. It's a great film. I don't know where people will be able to see it, Art, but now that you've gotten the awards in the film festival circuit, you can perhaps release it publicly online, or I think that it might be worth seeing if you can get some distribution, get it on a streaming service. But good luck on the job Monday, Art, and congratulations on all the film festival wins for A Cold Farewell. Warren shares tonight. Don't forget the secret show at midnight Eastern. Put the kids to bed and hang out. I will tune in, Warren. I don't know if you're having guests on. I couldn't join you last week, but if you are, maybe I can. I don't know if I've had dinner, maybe, and I'm not so grumpy. Maybe I can join you if you're having guests on. Let's see who else is here in the live chat that we're going to say goodnight to. Good piece of music. It may be copyrighted by the artist. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, vote her out. Miguel is sharing the Extra Bulla Midnight Secret Show. Kathy, I'd love to give you a Chicago Corner business card. I don't have a Chicago Corner business card. It's not in the budget, but I can give you.
We'll have to add that to the list.
Yeah. But what I will do, Kathy, is I will email you my personal business card. There's no way I can pass you a business card tomorrow in time for your event tomorrow because I've got other commitments. But if you can ask them for a business card and pass along my information, that would be like really, really helpful to help facilitate. There you go. Thank you, Ed. He found the link to Art's film, A Cold Farewell.
Well, it's got his trailer. I didn't see one for the whole film, but
you know what? I'm gonna pull up the trailer here. Can you do it? I don't have the link on this end.
Oh, you want me to play it?
Yeah, let's play the trailer. Let's give Art some props here.
Hang on. Let's stand by.
Tomorrow I'm babysitting my nephews, Warren, but thanks for the invite. Let me know in the future.
Okay, I think we're ready to go.
All right. This is incredible.
You ever wake up in the middle of the night, like after having a bad dream?
Mr. Motto, shoot Mrs. Carter between the eyes.
No!
None of this turned out the way you wanted.
No, honey, it certainly did not.
All right, so Art won Best Animated Film in the Cinemagic Film Fest, Best Screenplay, Cinemagic Film Fest, Best Director, Animated Feature in the Los Angeles Independent Film Awards, Best Original Music Score in the Los Angeles Independent Film Festival Awards, Best Film Noir for the Los Angeles Film Awards, finalist in the LA Neo Noir Novel Film Script Online Festival. We're waiting to see if he's going to win there. And he was also a semifinalist in the Los Angeles Crime and Horror Film Festival. So, Art, once again, buddy, congratulations. Very well done. Very proud of you. And hopefully we can share a link in the future where people can watch the whole film. Yes, Gene. Art is a remarkable talent. All right. So, Ed, thank you for joining me this evening. To everyone else out there in the live chat and audience, I want to thank you again for joining us this evening on Chicago Corner. Please remember, as you go into the weekend, to stay safe, watch out for each other, be vigilant, and always remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody, and we'll see you next Tuesday when Kira headlines. Ed and I will be joining her, and I will be back again next Friday night. Stay safe, Chicago.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.